Here is the new shooting table in its finished form. Let me back up so you can all see. It's nice, it's super smooth. Up here on the top, my dad sanded it, and then he recently here, just the other night, took some Men Wax fast drying polyurethane super durability clear satin to it, and it's gave it an orange finish, an orangish yellow finish. It's real solid. I'm not going to touch it because he's letting it dry. I don't know if it's still wet or not. But I figured I'd come out here in the video, out here in the garage, make a video. I had planned on going to the cabin to go shoot today, but as you can see, it's dark and gloomy, and it's been raining off and on all day. So I wasn't able to do that, which was a bummer. I was going to take the AR and the Marlin 15YN. Let's see, that's the thing here. I mean, here recently, locally, ammo has started to dry up, started to get bought up more here recently. For a while, 308 was still real commonly available at Walmart. It may still be, I don't know, I haven't been up there in a few days, but last time I looked, they'd bought all the Federal XM80C. And my dad passed through there the other night, and he said it was all bought up, all gone. It was right after the debate, the presidential debate. So, you know, the M1A, it's kind of, the M1A's down for a little bit. I mean, I don't have much 308 on hand. I haven't got to reloading here, but I will. But I'm going to give it a rest. You know, take a break on him. The 223s, the AR-15s are still good. Still got plenty of reloads for them. So I'll be shooting them a little bit more often when we do go shooting, when the weather holds. It's gotten cold and rainy and wet. And our 22s are doing good still, so we can still take them to the range and stuff. So just a brief update on that too. Just haven't been to the range, and I really just ain't got no... you know, I mean, I could take the M1A. I mean, I do have a lot of reloads for it. I have like a whole bucket of 50 308 reloads for it on standby, but I just don't want to shoot it all up. I'm going to go see if I can find some factory 308. Might buy some more of that, then start reloading. Real quick here. Andy Prairie Dog way the other day. I got sick, couldn't answer his question. He was wanting to know how we crimp our primer, the primer pockets on our cases. Well, what we do, now I've got a video showing how we did this, how I do it. It's in the New Year's Eve video. But last year, let me dump this out so you got brass in it. Last year I made this little contraption. It is a bullet holder, and the shoulders of cases fit down in these holes here. See, like this one's for 223, this one's for 243, and this one's for 308. I showed how to make one of these too, but what we do is we put this in the drill press here, and we take, you know, the corresponding, you know, crimp removal tool. We got two of them. I'll show the pictures of both of them in the video. Got one for large rifle primer, and got another one for small rifle primer, which is 223. And we, you know, chuck this up in the vise here, and we put the brass case in that, and then we bring this down over top of the case, and that takes out the crimp in the primer pocket, so you can put your primers in more easily. And I've got it for 223, 243, and 308, because those are my two, well, not two, my three most common center fire rounds. I don't need one for 7.65 because all the brass we have for the 7.65 doesn't have any crimps in the primer pockets. But I could make one if I need to. All of the brass for the 7.65 is Norma brass, and it's all good to go. So this is how we do it. We use a drill press because we have large volumes of 308 and 223, 556 brass that we have to crimp, especially for the 223 because we have that Dillon XL 750. And let me tell you guys, if you are running a Dillon XL 750 or any of the Dillons, it don't matter if it's just any of them, and you're running that handle and you're cranking and it's dropping new shells in, or you're putting new shells in the feeder and they're going down and they go around, if one of them shells has a primer pocket crimp there when it gets to the part where it puts the primer up in it, it will buffalo the whole process, the whole loading process, because it will go down and like it will go in, and either when that crimp's on there, it will either the primer won't go up into it, so you got one that came down, it kind of crunched that primer, it didn't go in, and then you got the shell goes up, gets powdered, and it goes around, then you got powder all over the place. Or two, what will happen, and this is a crappy one, is the primer will stick but it won't go all the way up in there, and it will go through the whole feeding, the whole feeding process. It'll go all the way around, get the bullet, the powder and all that, and it will go in the tray, and then the primer will come out because it wasn't seated all the way, and it will get powder all over the bullet tray, and then you got to run it back through. So it's important to get those crimps out, and the ones I have found that have crimps the worst with just shooting my two semi-autos, my M1A and my AR-15, is Hornaday and not Federal, what's the other one? Hornaday and Winchester. Winchester brass has crimps horrible. I'm sure there's a few more of them in there. I think Perfecta for 308 had a bad crimp, so did ZQI. But you got to get those crimps out of there, especially if you're running something big like a Dillon. Whether you have it auto loading or if you've got, like you do the manual hand crank and you're manually cranking them, because those crimps will goof up that whole assembly line, that little assembly line you got going there. It will buffalo that whole thing, and then you got to start all over. So the ones that already went through, you got to put them in the tray. Got to put those in the tray, get them out of the way. And then the ones that haven't been sized and have got powder, you got to figure them all out and reset it all. Basically, it's just a headache. Now, ways that you can get the crimps out of there if you don't have a drill press like this. Another way would be to take them crimp cutters for the brass and like use a hand drill. We have a hand drill that we've got set up. It's like in a cradle, kind of like a poor man's lathe, and we press the back of the case up against that to cut that crimp out of there. Then we clean the primer pockets and all that. And they make decrimping tools. I've seen them, like Lee and all of them. I think RCBS makes one too, where it's just like you just set it down, put the bullet in there, and then you crank their lever, and it like takes that crimp out. And then you just go through until all of them are done. But that's how we do it. We use no drill press, and it's simply because we have a higher volume of shells that we got to get through at a time when we start loading. Not so much for 308. I mean, my M1A, we don't have a 308 head for the Dillon, but I do have brass more often than not for the 308 that requires the crimp to be taken out. And I think military shells are are worse for it, I believe. I haven't reloaded any Federal XM80C brass, but I've loaded the commercial stuff. The commercial stuff's not that bad. Remington brass is good. Now this is just from my experience with 308, because I know Andy Prairie Dog, he has a 308 Remington 700. 223, that might be a different story, because they may treat their brass on commercial for it just a bit different. But see, that's the thing, we haven't really had, I mean we have, but we haven't. After we figured out that the crimp would stop the, the Dillon, we just came up with this little solution here, and that took care of it by and large. But with the 308, that's more of a kind of a hands-on type experience. We don't it's not as automated, if you could say that, automated, for what we're doing. But in my experience, Remington brass doesn't have crimps as bad, and neither does Federal. Hornaday, Winchester and Winchester have them real bad, and I think Perfecta, the military brass, if I remember correctly, it's been a while since I've reloaded actual 7.62 brass for reloads, but I think they had crimps real bad too. I know ZQI did, and one of the two, if you ever reload ZQI or Perfecta brass, be aware that the flash hole inside the primer pocket on those isn't aligned right. It's just like they run them through, punch the hole in, put the primer in, put powder and bullet in, and then send it out the door, which is alright for mass production 7.62 NATO, but that's a real pain in the ass for reloading. Let me tell you, I've had my fair share of, because I tried to reload Perfecta and ZQI when I was able to buy it in bulk at Walmart all the time. I miss those days, because you could get 20 rounds of ZQI 7.62 NATO for like $10. That was great. $10 or less sometimes, like $9 sometimes around here. But I tried reloading that stuff for reloads for my M1A when I was buying it all the time, and I forget which one. I think it was ZQI. ZQI was not good for reloads, not in my experience, because the primer pockets were out of alignment. We'd break decapping pins that we use to punch primers out. We have like a Lee press set up for primer punching to knock primers out. It's raining out there now, but we have a press set up in the gun room that we use specifically to knock primers out of our cases. It don't matter, we've got it set up for all of them, but when it would get to like ZQI brass, it would like bend that decapping pin sideways and crooked. They're just not good brass for reloading. But I still have it all on hand in there in case, I ever need to get into it. Same with Perfecta. Perfecta was a little better. It wasn't as hard to reload, but I think the crimp and the brass on those was, one of them had a really bad crimp, and it was almost damn near impossible to put a primer back in them. It's been a while. I've been sticking with commercial brass for the M1A for the last couple of years. I haven't reloaded military brass in any conceivable, serious way. I mean, I may have made a few plinkers here and there, or I would use 7.62 NATO brass, just to like make up a plinking load or get rid of some shells, but I have not, in any serious contention, tried to use 7.62 NATO brass for serious match reloading. So anyway, Andy Prairie Dog, I hope that helped you. I hope that helped you out. That little advice I gave there, that little, this little information I've given here, and I figured I'd show the shooting table in its, I think, completed state. I'm pretty sure it's completed now. This has been a project that my dad just took on basically by himself. He had it all planned out in his head, and he gets that way sometimes when he's got a plan or a little project he wants to do. Nothing will stop him until he gets it done, which isn't a bad thing, a bad way to go about things. And it's worked out. I've helped him out here and there. I've helped him move stuff and screw things in and put it together. I'll go over it in detail a little bit more someday. But for now, I've just been sitting back, getting ready for deer season, and wishing to get to the range, but the weather it's raining now, and you know, you can't go out to the church farm with mud everywhere, so maybe I'll get lucky next weekend. And we haven't been to the range in a while, and like I said earlier, you know, I can't really, the big dogs right now, the M1A and the 765, those are kind of off the table because all I've got for them is what I've got. And you know, with somebody had told you, that's the thing, it's just never enough ammo. You know, somebody, if I had known what was going to happen right now, you know, how things are right now, I probably wouldn't have shot all that 308 on Christmas. But what can you do? Anyway, this has been Pliskin by 51mm. I'll see you guys all in the next video.